Hi guys, day 10 of my self-sufficiency challenge, and it's going well. If you're new to my channel and you don't know what I'm talking about, then for the whole of September I'm basically doing a complete self-sufficiency challenge. I'm not eating anything that's been bought in a shop, and I'm not using things like sauces from McDonald's either. Literally nothing like that. Every single thing that I'm eating has either been grown by me, raised by me, trapped by me, or foraged by me. The only exceptions are I'm allowed to do a little bit of bartering. I've even got quite strict rules on the bartering. So anything I barter, it must be a like for like trade in terms of value. I can't trade something of a small value for something of a much bigger value. I couldn't trade one potato for a fillet steak, for example. The only other thing is that it must be food that I trade. I must trade food for food. So a great example of this is I'm trading some of my goat's cheese for some honey with a local beekeeper, because my bees, I'm a very new beekeeper and my bees have not delivered a harvest for me this year. So I was planning on using my own honey, and in future years that's what I'll be doing. But for this year I had to trade some for some goat's cheese because we keep our own goats. That's everyone up to speed. So it's day 9 of my self-sufficiency challenge, and I'm out in the woods because it's raining. It's been raining quite hard. It's not actually raining that much at the moment, but it was raining quite hard, so I had to stop what I was doing. My work is weather dependent, what I'm doing at the moment, and I couldn't carry on. So at about 9:30 I had to stop what I was doing and cut my day short. So I figured, rather than waste the day, spend the day in this beautiful environment and come and do some foraging. So I'm after a couple of different things. I'm after some hazelnuts, and I'm also after something I'm always after, which is mushrooms, because my plan is to make a mushroom stroganoff later today. So if you've already been following me this month, you'll know one of the things I'm finding more difficult are lunches, and I need to spend a bit more time sort of preparing things that I can take out the house. So that's what I'm going to plan to do later today. Definitely going to have some fresh mushrooms if I find some. Failing that, I've got an awful lot of dried mushrooms that I've already foraged. So we'll just have to wait and see what the day brings. So just got back to the car, got a little bit wet. That's okay, I'm waterproof. So we found a few hazelnuts, found a couple of boletes, but not a lot mushroom wise. That's okay. If I'm honest, if I hadn't stopped off at that other wood a few days ago, I wouldn't have expected to find very much here, because it's been very, very dry. Had a very overcast August, and that's gone right through into September. We haven't had much sun, but we also haven't had much rain for probably a good 2 weeks or so. So rain is what usually is indicative that you're going to find lots of mushrooms. They tend to come out a few days after a good dose of rain, which we've had today. It was only because I happened to see all those mushrooms from the road as I was driving past the other day at that other woodland, and I stopped in, and it was just incredible the amount that was out. So I thought it would be worthwhile checking here. Turns out not a great deal, but that's okay. We've got loads and loads of forage mushrooms at home that we've saved from other trips. And if you're interested in mushroom foraging, just check out my videos. Go to my playlists. There's a whole mushroom identification playlist. You can go through there, and every mushroom that I'm going to talk about later on today that's going to go in my food is one that I've probably done an identification video on if you're interested, or a dedicated video on that mushroom. Anyway, I'm going to go home now. I'm going to have some lunch and then start cooking my stroganoff. Okay, so I'm back at the house. I had a slight change of plan for lunch. I didn't get enough mushrooms, I don't think, to warrant lunch from them. So I'm just going to have really, really simple sourdough, which obviously the only ingredient in this is flour. Now, we get our flour from a bakery next door, and we trade eggs for it. They have a use for a lot of eggs. We have surplus eggs, so everyone's a winner. And apart from honey, flour is the only thing that I've actually bartered for and got for this challenge. So I'm going to have some sourdough with some eggs, obviously from our hens, on that, and that's going to be my lunch. And in the meantime, I'm going to start rehydrating a lot of the mushrooms that I've been saving. So here we've got stump puffballs, which are a super common, not particularly prized edible mushroom, but they're perfectly edible and quite nice. In here, we've got the world's tiniest stock of chanterelles. These are the only chanterelles I've found. In here, we've got some amazing edible mushrooms. These are St. George's mushrooms, and all of these have videos on my site if you want to check them out and identify them yourself. We've got a nice big jar of honey fungus. That really is quite a big jar there. And we've got some cauliflower fungus. And all of these are going to make my stroganoff. So really, really simple. It's basically a creamy stock that they're going to go in. So I'm going to boil the kettle and I'm going to steep all of these in some boiling water to rehydrate them. I'm just going to put enough in to sort of submerge them. And then what will happen is that water will just create this amazing mushroom stock. It really is quite amazing and strong. And that's going to be the base of my sauce for my stroganoff. Then we're going to add some, well, because it's me, everything's better with chilies. So I'm definitely going to add some chilies. Going to add some goat's milk because I don't have any cream to spare. So we're going to add some goat's milk. And then, I don't know, we'll see where we go from there. But probably some herbs, maybe some other sort of spices or spice substitutes, and of course some salt and some dried crushed radish for pepper. So that's my lunch and dinner plan. And other than that, so far today, it's lunchtime now, all I've consumed has been water, and that's going really well. I really struggled with that at the start of this month. I literally cannot remember the last time I drank water through choice, just plain water. It's not something I'm particularly proud of, but that is the facts. I'm over the hump of that now, and I don't really think about it, which is nice, perfect. So I'm going to continue with water right through till tonight, and that's the plan. That's the plan for my consumption today. Hello, that's one of our cockerels out there saying hello to you guys. And as you can see, we've still got some dried mushrooms up on the shelves if I want to use some more for other things later in the month. Right, I'm going to get some lunch now, and I'll speak to you guys in a few hours. Okay, I'm about to do the stroganoff, and I'm aware, guys, this isn't a cooking channel, and I don't want it to, so I'm aware that it's kind of become a bit of one over the last few days. I apologise for that, and if you're new to my channel and this isn't the sort of thing you want to see, don't worry, it's not normally here. If it is the sort of thing you want to see, let me know. But yeah, this isn't going to suddenly become a cooking channel, but obviously the cooking of the food is really integral to the whole self-sufficient challenge. So obviously we're going to start with a pan, and actually it's really, really simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn the heat up and then get myself some fat in this pan. And obviously when you don't have access to things like stock cubes and salt and pepper, or at least not pepper, I do have salt from the sea, it's all about trying to build up those flavours. And you've seen me doing this and getting a little bit more adventurous with it over the last few days. Using this pork fat is actually really beneficial to that because it's already giving me a head start on that flavour base for my stock. Next up is onions. And again, these are another fantastic ingredient in any stock. Now some garlic and some chilli. Now I've got one rather large carrot from the garden, finely diced, very, very finely, because I actually want it to break down. Now you wouldn't normally add carrot at this point or to a stroganoff full stop necessarily, but this is to just really add some depth to that flavour, and I'm adding it at this point, hopefully, and I'm making this up as I go along, hopefully it's going to help the carrot kind of break down. I want it to cook off really quickly so that once that sauce hits it, once the stock hits it, it has a chance to almost disintegrate a little bit. It's not going to disintegrate, but the flavours will kind of meld with the liquid. Now I'm going to separate the stock, that amazing mushroom stock, from the mushrooms. Next up, we're just going to bang our mushrooms in and fry them off a little bit. Now, our mushroom stock. So we're gonna add some water to that. We're also gonna add some goat's milk, which is gonna give it a much creamier consistency. So I'm gonna add the goat's milk first, and then add whatever liquid I think I need, whatever water I think I need to sort of bring that liquid to the right ratio, if you like, to all those mushrooms. So how does this vary from a regular stroganoff if you were going out to the supermarket and just buying the ingredients for it? Well, first of all, you'd use cream instead of milk. Secondly, I think most people wouldn't start with dehydrated foraged mushrooms, so they wouldn't have that stock. So you'd have to use a stock cube or a couple of stock cubes, depending on how much you were making. Thirdly, I don't have any pepper. I'm using dried radish. Another difference is usually, or in the recipe I normally use for stroganoff, you'd use mustard. That's just something I don't have. Simple as that. Don't have it, it's not going in. I'm adding chili instead though, and I'm very good with that. I'm very, very good with that. Lastly, I think, now, I don't know, again, I'm not a classically trained chef, but I think, you know, in a traditional stroganoff, you'd add parsley. Well, my parsley plants all died. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. So I don't have any. So instead, I'm going to add some basil and some carrot tops. I'm going to chop these up really, really finely and add these. And I think they do have that kind of parsley-ish flavour to them. So I think that's going to work really well. A little bit of sea salt, a little bit of dried radish, and then my herbs. Just adding a little bit more liquid. And then finally what we'll do, we'll bring this back up to a simmer, and then we'll add some flour to thicken it. Not as much flavour as I would have liked. It's all right. It's gonna be good. The mushrooms are great. It's missing the mustard, like big time. I can't think how I'm gonna solve that. Maybe I just don't, but I'm not as excited about this amazing stroganoff as I was. The mustard. I could use some more salt. Just go with a bit more salt. Although I was getting a bit carried away with the success of yesterday's griot. Don't get me wrong, this is good. It's just not. I thought this was going to be as good as any stroganoff I'd ever eaten. And it's just a bit bland. The flavours aren't quite strong enough. Let's thicken it up and see where we're at. Let's let that cook off. That's starting to look better, isn't it? Let's try again. It just doesn't taste very strong. It just doesn't taste strong enough. I didn't want to do this, but I think I'm going to have to add the last of that pork gravy that I've saved. So this is the pork gravy that I saved from the top of that stew. We since used it to start yesterday's griot, and I think it's required, it's necessary. This weekend I'm planning on butchering a couple of chickens, so then I can make a load of chicken stock as well, and then we'll be kind of getting ahead of the curve again. So I've got 2 portions of that stew in the freezer. I've got a portion of the griot in the freezer, and I've got a portion of the griot in the fridge. This is going to serve me this evening's dinner, and there's going to be 4 or 5 meals left after that. It's quite a big pan, this. So yeah, we'll be getting ahead. I just wish I wish I could get a bit more into that sauce, and I can't for the life of me fathom how I'm going to do it. Anyway, I've spent enough time worrying about it now. It is what it is. I'm sure it'll be delicious, and either way it's going to be my tea. I think I'm going to wrap this video up after I've eaten this for tea, and give you guys a little bit of feedback on it. Okay, so it's not it's not all that bad. I think it's just I'd set my hopes really high and my expectations really high for what this was going to be, because in my head I thought I could achieve, you know, basically an exact equivalent of a stroganoff that I might make usually, you know, when I've got access to everything I could possibly want and go all out. In my head this was going to taste as good as that, and it just doesn't, and that's okay. I think it's just missing seasoning, and I want to add a ton of salt to it, which I obviously can't, and I desperately want to add like 3 stock cubes to it, which I obviously can't, and I want to add a load of mustard to it, which I obviously can't, and I want to add a load of black pepper to it,
which I obviously can't. But I'm not going to be able to eat it like 3 or 4 meals in a row. Like I could, that pork griot, I could eat that every meal for 2 or 3 days quite happily without getting bored. I wouldn't want this again tomorrow. I genuinely don't know where I've gone wrong. I don't know where all the flavour's gone that I put in here. All of this comes from the fact that our taste buds are used to really high fat, high sugar, high flavour diets. I wonder if a little bit of malic acid, aka rhubarb reduction, wouldn't save the day. It's definitely better. What I'm most disappointed about, or perhaps embarrassed about, is that I was expecting to be showing you guys this amazing mushroom stroganoff using foraged mushrooms and homegrown ingredients and natural stock, and I can't in clear conscience say follow this recipe, it's amazing. It's fine. It's okay. Maybe my standards are too high, but I was expecting it to be amazing. I was really looking forward to it, and it was decidedly average, and I've got a ridiculous amount of it left over, and I've used up loads of dried mushrooms. Just a big disappointment. That's it. Sorry about that, guys. I don't have anything else to share today, I don't think. That's really upset me. Not the wind out of my sails, that has. Like I say, and it's to do with expectation as well, managing expectation, because I'd set such a high expectation for myself. If this was just any other dinner, then I probably wouldn't feel quite so deflated. But wild mushroom stroganoff, that's supposed to be amazing. I think if I'd had a load of cream instead of milk, that would have helped. If I'd had some white wine I could use in the sauce, that would have helped. There's, you know, I've been listing these things all the way through, all these different things that would have helped to give it more depth of flavour and just have something to it, you know? It's got nothing about it. It's perfectly fine, edible food. Imagine that as your Yelp restaurant review. Perfectly fine, edible food. And I know I'm going to be eating it again. And again and again. I suppose I could freeze it in October, try and save it with some more stock. I don't know. What I'll probably do is I'll take it to work for lunches, because then I can always decide not to eat it. If I'm hungry enough, I'll enjoy it, won't I? I might cook myself some pork ribs to cheer me up. Didn't have any pork ribs, so I'm having cheer me up pancakes. I just feel really grumpy. I feel really grumpy about the whole thing. It's all psychological. I've made some stinkers when it comes to food. I've made some absolute awful soups. I've made horrible meals, but I've always been experimenting more than I thought I was there. And that's what I'm most upset about. I just can't figure out why that was so disappointing. While I was cooking these pancakes, my cheer me up pancakes, which aren't working, I was thinking, I can't believe it's only 9 days. And I just want a pepperoni pizza and some rubbish food. It's all psychological, because when you're doing this, obviously you're in it, you're 100% in it, and you don't think about a lot else all the time. I had this amazing plan. And a little bit of it, I suppose, is ego. You know, I consider myself to be a competent cook, and I was fully expecting to share with you guys something really quite, you know, fantastic and great and perfect for the channel. You know, here's some wild mushrooms and homegrown ingredients, and we're gonna make this amazing meal. And I had 100% confidence that it was going to be an amazing meal, and now I'm just stuck with all this food that I don't want to eat. I really don't want to eat, and just thinking about it's starting to make me feel ill. And I don't even know why. I don't know what went wrong to make it so insipid and tasteless. And I'm sorry, I mean, I know you guys don't come here to watch me be negative and whinge, because if you did, you'd be disappointed on every other video. But it's just, I feel like I've let everyone, including myself, down by preparing this crappy meal, and I don't know why it should affect me so much. But again, it goes back to what I was saying about it being psychological, where all I'm thinking about is food, and these meals become so important. So important. And I think that's it, you know, all these meals are so important now to me. When I'd kind of held one up in my head as something, you know, it's going to be great. When I start using my foraged mushrooms, you know, that's going to be amazing to share that on the channel. And in my head, I had this idea, the mushroom stroganoff sounds great. In my head, it was great. I knew exactly what it was going to taste like. It was going to be fantastic. And it was going to follow on from the success of yesterday's pork griot. And then it was the polar opposite. I don't think I have anything else to add today. And I will pick this up tomorrow, as always. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please make sure you press that like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I will speak to you tomorrow when I will be feeling much happier, I'm sure. Cheers.